Welcome to another episode of the Flats Nation podcast. And a big shout out to Brother Dave Fader down Amarada for the awesome music. You can check out more of Dave's phenomenal work on davidfader.com. This is your host, Dave Legier, and today we have a very special guest with us. It's a friend of mine, Trevor Medenwaldt from Achieva Credit Union, and what we're going to do is discuss boat loans and loans for tow vehicles, and hopefully give you some competitive advantages or just some education on the process to see if that boat that you've been looking at and you've been drooling over is really feasible or what you would really like to do. Because I know that the market, and I'm quite sure Trevor will attest to this, has really taken off when it comes to the purchasing of boats and RVs and stuff in the modern economy. So quick disclaimer on this one. I am a member of Achieva Credit Union. I have been for decades. So it was really easy for me to get a hold of them and work on this podcast project, which I think is going to be hopefully very beneficial to everybody. So Trevor, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it, brother. Can you give us a little bit of background on yourself and Achieva Credit Union, your role with the credit union at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this today. So for myself, I started in banking about 10 years ago when I got into a credit union up in Minnesota, and then I started out at a teller level, and with some hard work and perseverance, I was able to move up in positions to a branch manager level within 5 years. So that was very exciting for me. Credit unions are my passion, and I really enjoy what I do every day. So it's been a really fun career choice for me. And then coming to Achieva when I moved to Florida was a very natural move, fit in line with what I had kind of grown up with in the credit union world. So placing a lot of focus on teachers as our background, but then expanding that into an open membership that we could really help out our community.
I do remember Achieva many years ago. Back when I started with them was the Pinellas County Teachers Credit Union, if I'm not mistaken. So they've been around for a while in that part of the country. So Achieva Credit Union covers what areas in the state of Florida?
So we basically cover from our corporate office is in Dunedin, Florida, and we cover from a little bit further north than that, all the way down to Estero is where we have our current location further south. We do have plans to expand into the Naples market within the next year or so as well, in addition into some more of the Tampa. So we're on the west coast of Florida.
Good deal. Now, if someone is outside your normal coverage area, can they still join the credit union and use your products and services?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have different ways and that people can become a member. So we can get creative. We have our basic things that allow you to be a member, but at kind of worst case scenario, we just have a one-time membership fee that we then give back to the community using that through scholarships and grants. So there's a way. Good
deal. So let's get into the crux of everything and what everybody seems to be interested in these days. Someone's looking for a new skiff or boat, or even a used one for that matter. What type of boat loan products do you offer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So talking about our boat loan products, they kind of get divided into really two main categories, and that is a boat that is what I would say you're more common, less than 5 tons or 30 feet. those there's that category. And then really that gets into the boat that's over 5 tons or over 30 feet, which gets into a product known more as a preferred ships mortgage. So there's kind of those two main categories that we divide those into. But regardless, we have a broad range of loan products for boat loans. The only thing that we don't actually do is dwellings. We don't do boats as dwellings.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I was thinking about those. How would somebody get, say, a marine loan for a houseboat or something of those nature? So I'm glad you cleared that up. Does the amount of the loan, for those who don't know, affect how long someone can secure the loan for in the number of months? Is there a break point on that? How does that work?
Yeah, there is. It's going to be a little bit different for each financial institution, whether it's credit union or a bank, but our boat loans in particular have a minimum financing amount of 10,000 kind of as our general guideline. There may be times that we look at lower amounts than that, but we kind of determine that on a case-by-case basis. And then we vary in terms ranging from a short term up to 180 months or 15 years. So depending on that term, there's also a breakdown of kind of the tiers of how much we require to be financed to make it make sense. We don't want to do a $10,000 boat loan over 15 years because
exactly
they're going to be ending up a bit of a pickle there with the value. But so it does range for sure.
So how is values on a boat determined? Are you using NADA guides? And what if somebody is looking to, let's say, build a custom skiff or something along those lines? How does that process work?
Yeah, so to determine value with brand new ones, which is a hot topic these days, but with brand new ones, we use the dealer invoice to determine the value on them. So that's a little bit different than like your MSRP or what they're selling for. The dealer invoice is really what they bought it for. So that's the number we use to determine what's that value of that boat. We all know within the market, obviously things are going for unheard of prices.
Oh, yes.
So we know that is not necessarily an accurate value to what the market is today, but that's what we use to determine our value to ensure that we're putting everyone in a good position as far as loan to value.
Now, I know on discoverboating.com, there's a boat loan calculator. And when I post up the podcast, I'll put the link on there for everybody so they can see it. Do you at Achieva Credit Union have a similar tool, or how does that process work if somebody is looking to just do some early looking into what they can afford per month and interest rates and things of that nature?
That's a great question. So I actually have, I've used that Discover Boating loan calculator that you're referring to, and it is a really cool tool. It's set up really well. It functions easily for the end user. So it is a great tool. We don't actually have a calculator at this time that's on our website and available. At the credit union, we do it a little bit differently. We like to talk with people directly that are interested in purchasing a boat because there are so many different scenarios that go into your financing options and protections that are available to protect your investment. So that calculator can tell you, okay, I can afford this payment, which means I'm looking at this purchase price. But if you're looking to add any protections to that boat, now you're going to put yourself outside of that payment range. So we really like to work one-on-one and discuss the options and those protections and coverages to protect your investment, to really make sure we're fitting your end game payment goal.
So let's say somebody finds the skiff or the boat of their dreams, or they found a used one that they have an interest in, and they go to secure a loan. Are there any prepayment penalties? And along those lines, let's say somebody has changed in their career or they're changed in their budgeting. Can they make extra payments in a month to help pay down, let's say, the principal of the loan?
So that's a great question, and one that we get asked very frequently. Here at Achieva, we do not have origination fees for our boat loans, nor do we have prepayment penalty fees on any of our loans. So simply put, we're trying to help people achieve their goals, achieve their financial goals. And if that's, if you're able to pay the loan off early, we want to help facilitate that. So you absolutely can do that and apply it as a regular payment, or you can even pay a couple months in advance so that you kind of build in some wiggle room in case you have a tough month.
Awesome. So someone finds a boat they like. What process do they use with Achieva for a possible loan? Do they apply online? Do they place a phone call? How does that work with you?
So there are several different options for that. One of which is online. Another, of course, is to speak with one of our loan consultants directly. I'm a people person, so I typically choose that route versus the electronic submission, but both are simple and effective. The timeline can really vary in each situation based on several different variables. So some can move as quickly as same day or next day, where others might take longer. Like those preferred ship mortgages I referenced, there's more title search and documentation in those. So those
I bet.
longer. Yeah. But the application itself is typically going to take roughly 10-15 minutes to go through. So it's a very quick process.
That is pretty quick. I would think it would take longer than that, but that is quick. So we all know the credit scores are important. And to me, Trevor, I think there's an element of voodoo in those. It's interesting how they change and what affects it and what doesn't affect it. If somebody is looking to secure a boat loan through Achieva or a loan, let's say for a tow vehicle, and I'm sure there's a little bit different in those two product lines, what is what I would call basic entrance criteria when they're looking at their credit score to be able to do such?
So credit scores are such an important topic that I'm not sure that as a general population, we really understand how they operate, kind of like you alluded to. And to be honest with you, I'm not even convinced that the different credit bureaus understand how they're grading them.
I agree.
But this is literally a topic I can speak on all day because I go into total credit union world and kind of nerd out on it. And I teach classes solely based on this to help understand this better. But we don't have a set per se score that we have to have, because again, as a credit union, we try and really consider each situation. So we realize things happen, bad things happen to good people, life situations come up. So your credit score is just a portion of that. And we do use that to determine rate, but we don't necessarily say you have to have this score or we're not going to work with you, because there's always a story.
What are interest rates running roughly right now? Does it matter if it's a new or used vessel? And I know that's volatile; it's subject to change. But right now, at the beginning of 2022, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so as you said, those can always change. So that full disclosure, until a loan approval is reached, those interest rates are subject to change without notice. But as of today, our current rates are starting as low as 4.75, and again, based on your credit score, and they can go up to as high as 18% for the lower score levels, but as low as 4.75.
Okay. The value for the loan, and let's say basically on a used vessel, because there's a lot of those on the market, and it's amazing how fast they can get snatched up at the same time. How does that determine?
So on a used vessel, we use NADA value, so you can really get a good idea of what value is going to be even ahead of time, because NADA, if you've not used it, anyone can use it, any consumer. You can go right in there and you can plug in, and actually we encourage you to go in and plug in all of the details, because there, as anyone that has owned a boat or looked at boats knows, there are a trillion options out there that you can add.
There is.
And if I go through a list with you in a loan application, we'll be there all day.
Literally.
But typically people kind of have an idea or can get information from the seller on what's included. So you can go in there and look at that. And then we specifically at Achieva we consider the used trade-in value.
Okay. So I'm assuming that on those NADA guides, and I haven't worked with them for a while, there's different levels there as to what loan values, retail values, there's different values put on X vessel, correct?
You got it. And so you're going to have like a market value, and that's kind of more the value that you could expect to sell it at. The used value is kind of that more averaged market value, not the increased of right now, but kind of takes in a span of time to calculate that, so that it's kind of a safe calculation of what the true long-term value of that boat would be sitting at.
Well, along those lines, when we use the term market value, I remember when I was in the automotive industry as a service director, there was what was called ACV, actual cash value. Is that a measurement that's used on NADA and through Achieva, or how is that terminology implied and employed?
So through the NADA site, that's going to be your market value title. So that's kind of like what you're seeing in the real world today. So yeah, that's going to be known as that market value.
So now, when we're looking at these values, does that include, let's say, since the majority of people do not live on the water, does that include the boat, motor, and trailer combined, or how does that work?
Again, each situation is different. So we can look at lending, obviously, with value to look at the boat, the motor, and the trailer as a package deal. But we can also break that down. So if you're buying the trailer outright, but you're just financing the boat and motor, we can look at that piece. So we can piece that together to determine a full package value to purchase the whole setup.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have never thought of somebody purchasing, let's say, the trailer, or in some cases in a used vessel, I can see that, where they would need a new trailer and just paying cash for that. I get that. That's great. That's great. So now, what documentation is needed from your members to start the review process for look to purchase a vessel?
So I can't make this any easier, I promise. To start the process of the application and get moving towards your approval, we simply don't need any documentation. We are going to start the process of just going through that conversation, filling out the information about you, where you work, what you make, and then we do it like a pre-approval. Once that pre-approval gets sent out, then it tells you what documents we actually need to finish underwriting the loan, because we don't want to tell you get this, this, and this when really you only needed one item. So we wait until we issue that pre-approval, take a look, and then we're like, this is what we need.
Oh, great. So knowing how fast new and used boats can sell today, I've seen them listed and gone within hours. What steps can somebody make to be able to facilitate this quickly? Do they need to have insurance lined up ahead of time? What comes into play on that?
So really the biggest tip I can give in this area is get pre-approved. Go in there, go to your, obviously I'm an advocate for credit unions, but go to your credit union, get your pre-approval amount so you know what you're looking to spend and the price range you're in, as well as you've got that letter. So when you're ready to purchase and you find the boat you like, you can be one of those people that already has that step completed, so that the seller is confident they're not wasting their time. As you know, and I know, there's a lot of tire kickers out there. So,
there is.
A seller of a boat doesn't want to waste their time with that. So having that pre-approved amount, so you can say, I've already got my financing lined up, I need the details on the boat to submit to them, is really going to speed up that process and get you kind of that upper hand.
Or not even say you have a loan, just say this is a cash deal, and they don't even know where the cash is coming. So as long as it's, I get it. I understand that. That all comes into the, as I call it, the bidding war. What about paperwork? I mean, do they need to submit, let's say, proof of insurance and things like that online to save on time? How does that come into play?
Yeah, so when that pre-approval is reached, then what happens is the applicant receives an email. It'll detail exactly what documents we need and where to send it, which goes directly to their assigned loan processor, who's going to help move that loan through as quickly as possible. And a lot of times when that paperwork is submitted, it's within a couple hours by the time we're ready to fund that loan.
Wow, that quick. I'm amazed.
Very, very quick. Yep.
Interesting. So let's shift gears here. So they've got their boat, and they're looking to get a new tow vehicle, whether it's a truck or an SUV or whatever the case may be. What products do you offer for those. I basically think or assume that these are an automotive style loans. How does that process work? And is it any different than purchasing a new skiff or new boat or a used one?
Yeah, so really it's pretty similar process, but I'm glad you brought that up because I can't tell you how many times I've had helped someone and then they come to the realization, wait, I need a vehicle that can tow this kind of
Right, I got to be
capacity.
able to move it. I'll be able to get it
Yeah.
home. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a pretty much the same process. We're going to do that application. We're going to take a look at the loan, and then we're going to send you what we need. Do we need proof of income? Do we need the verification of income, that sort of thing. So again, not wasting your time gathering paperwork we don't need. We wait till we're ready to tell you exactly what we need to support that loan.
So let's say they're at a dealership and they're looking to purchase a new Nissan, Toyota, or whatever the case may be. And we know that those negotiation processes can get interesting, to say the least. Can they get a pre-approval so that when they go visit a dealership, they can, let's say, rule out or help give them more leverage in the purchasing process through Achieva?
So absolutely is my answer to that. Same situations going on in the automotive world, and I think most people are seeing that those cars are flying off the lot at unheard of prices in a lot of cases. So the pre-approval, walking into the dealership with your pre-approval already ready, does many things for you. One, it gives you kind of that buying power because you're already set up and established. Two, I don't know about you guys, but the last time I purchased a car, I felt like I spent 3/4 of my day at the dealership. So if you got to wait for their financing team, that takes even longer. So it's nice to have that process already in place. But in addition, a lot of times when you're sitting down with that finance person at the dealership, they're also going to offer you the protections that you can add to your vehicle, which we offer as well.
Wow.
But in
Okay. So
almost
you can get an extended service contract through Achieva.
Absolutely. Yep. We've got our mechanical repair coverage as well as some other coverages. But I can tell you, I have yet to see any contract where the dealership is offering the same benefits we are, where they're anywhere near our pricing. Because as a credit union, we're pricing that way lower, where a dealership is profit. So
Sure.
they're pricing the same products way higher in most cases, not all. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes,
Sure.
but just trying to help us all, we're all consumers, get the best that we can when we're doing that. So really that pre-approval, walking in there. We even have a process called auto drafts, if you're not familiar with that. But essentially we get you pre-approved to the point of we pinpoint, we're approving you for this range of a vehicle, less than 100,000 miles for this price. And we give you a check that as long as your deal meets those parameters, you write out that check, you sign it, and then the dealership sends it to us to collect the payment.
Wow. Okay. I like that. That really gives you quite a bit of negotiating firepower. Then I like that because it's a competitive market. We are consumers, and the more we're educated, generally speaking, the more money we're going to save in the process. I get that. I think that's awesome. So what are those terms running? Let's say both new and used. And I remember from my time in that industry, there was usually a couple of points difference between interest rate on, let's say, a new vehicle versus a used. How is that running nowadays?
So again, that is going to vary from financial institutions. But our process today is we actually categorize 2019 through 2020 models all in the same rate. So we don't say you have to be brand new to get the best rate, but we want you in kind of that newer 3 years. So there is a big breakdown again of how you determine what those rates are based on the year of the vehicle, the term of the loan. And those can range from, we've got rates as low as 1.89% right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great rate for sure. So as you can imagine, we've been busy with refinances too.
I bet. Now, what's the average length of term on that interest rate? Because I've seen some of those where the interest rate was real low, but it was only for like 3 years or whatever the case may be. Is there any, what's the background on that product?
Yeah, so the 1.89% is targeted to that 3-year, the 36-month loan term and a newer vehicle. So if you're able to take advantage of that, that's great. If you're
That is.
not, then we get into the other ones, but still for some of those like A, B, and C credit categories, those rates are still generally speaking in the 2.5 range right now.
Oh, it's not bad at all.
No, not at all.
So let's say that somebody is shopping for a new tow vehicle and they're in the west coast of Florida in your coverage footprint area, and the dealership already works with Achieva. Does it matter that they work with you directly first, or can they go through the finance department? Is there any cost benefit? How does that work?
When that's the case that the dealership works directly with us, we've got a really good relationship with them. And I can assure you, we vet them hardcore to make sure that they're aligning with our principles. They're treating their consumers the way that we would like them treated as our members. So we really make sure they're aligned with us before we kind of sign that contract saying that we're going to partner up with you. That being said, again, I'm always an advocate for being ready. When you walk in that dealership, you already know what you're looking at, what you're working towards. That way you're not looking at, the steak when you can only get a burger. So do you have to? No, you could certainly do that at the dealership. One of the other advantages of doing it in advance is if we set you up, we're going to pull your credit once. If a dealership works with us, they're also going to send that loan application out to all of the parties that they work with. So it's going to hit multiple hits on your credit.
Yeah, and here we go back to that voodoo as to what it does. It's phenomenal. Along that line, automotive wise, as compared to, let's say, a skiff or a boat, if someone wants to make extra payments to help pay it off faster, can they do that? And how do they do that? Do they just make a payment and target strictly for principal? How does that work?
Same story there. So we do not charge origination fees on our auto loans, and we also do not charge prepayment penalties. So there's the two modes you can do it again, where you just add additional money to your payment. That's going to kind of extend your payment out a little bit or work towards your next payment amount. Or you can submit a portion as principal only, where we will actually just pay down the principal and not apply it towards your next payment.
Oh, great. So now, do you at Achieva, because I've seen these advertised and I've heard about these shopping services, through the different entities that I've seen. Do you have any shopping services at Achieva so that when you're not even have to go into the dealership and sometimes deal with the insanity of trying to purchase a new vehicle?
We don't have our own that we do. Are you like, if we're referring to, like, there's Carvana and things like that where you can kind of purchase right online and have it
Purchase right online, or
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, I might be thinking of USAA or some of these other ones, and I may be wrong on that, but I've just seen shopping services where they are actually negotiating. I don't know if they're actually negotiating the deal where there's a already set fees, so that you don't even have to go. If you know what you want based on color, mileage, whatever the case may be, that you can just employ them to handle the majority of that headache that you and I have both dealt with in our lives of sitting in the automotive dealership for just way too long to try to get a simple purchase made.
Yeah, we do have a tool that you can search through called CU Auto Branch, and it works different than those other ones. So it's not so much that you can have the car delivered, but it is kind of a preset search tool that we partner with. But it's not a full where you get it delivered to your home and take all that away from that.
Let me back up here a little bit for a second, Trevor. For those that may not know, what is the basic differences between, let's say, a credit union and a bank? How does that work so that the newer purchaser has a little bit better level set and education on that?
That's a great question. Credit unions and not-for-profit organizations, so they're owned by the members. Therefore, notice I'm using that word members. So anyone can be part of a bank, but credit unions have a qualification process to really ensure that we're protecting everyone that's choosing to be part of that membership. So with that being said, we have ways of helping to become a member, but we really want to make sure, because anytime that a loan isn't paid, that really becomes something that's put back to the entire membership. So we want to protect that membership. We want to make sure everyone within our cooperative is working together, taking care of what they need to take care of, so that it benefits everybody that's part of that cooperative. Whereas with a bank, they're making profits, and their whole goal is to make profits for their investors. So while most of the product types and services are the same between the two as far as what products are offered, there are major differences in how those products are offered and structured. Typically, I guess to make it basic, the major differences are really for you as a consumer. You're going to find benefits like higher interest rates earned on your savings products, lower interest rates charged on your loan products, and fewer fees. And I'll repeat that because no one likes fees.
No,
So
not at all.
fewer fees, and even credit unions as a whole are looking at additional ways that we can lower more fees. Really getting to the root of what we do as credit unions. We care about people, not the profits.
Great answer. And that's the reason why I've always been for credit union. I just like the differences between the two. I also am a firm believer in keeping my money at home, in my home area. That's just the way I was raised, and that's just the way I think. And I think that's, it's very beneficial to my community. Any other tips to help push these processes through quicker? Let's say, especially since if you drive past some automotive dealerships, these lots are empty. So I'm thinking that as soon as they come off the truck, is pretty much sold or tagged to be sold fairly quick. So what can the members do to be able to help leverage against that, a little bit of planning ahead?
Again, just being prepared. You have more buying power if you've got that auto draft in hand when purchasing a vehicle, if that's an option for us to offer you, and completing that deal as quickly as you can. There's also that piece where, if you have to walk away and get some things together and come back, that may not be there. So really being prepared. If you're thinking ahead, like I want to buy a car or a boat next year, planning now, taking a look at credit. Where are you sitting? How can we improve that? Most credit unions will offer, and we offer, our certified financial counselor program, also referred to as a CFC. And we partner with you to go, okay, this is my goal, whether it be a boat, a house, a car, whatever, to look at, you want to accomplish that even in a year or 6 months. We look at how can we help you to improve that credit score and guide you towards that. So pre-planning, regardless of if it's getting the approval to go in the dealership today, or pre-planning if it's for a year or a couple of years out, even, your credit union is going to be there to support you.
Oh, that's great. That's great. How does somebody get a hold of Achieva to be able to, I know you're a branch manager, so you may not be dealing directly with them day in and day out. There's others, like my buddy Ashley, she's been a great help to me. How do they get a hold of you, meaning that Achieva, to be able to start this process and join and get some financial tips and advice?
Yeah, absolutely. So even within my role, I also am a loan consultant. So I'm doing these loan applications with people, and I'm helping them through this process and really giving them every step of the way what to expect next. So you can absolutely call me directly. My phone number is 239-471-3564. Or you can email me. This one's kind of long, but it's TMEDENWALDT@achievacu.com. And then in addition, you can just call our branches. And I'm specifically located in Lee County. So our branch network phone number is 239-829-8290.
That's great. And I'm assuming that they can also go online. What is the URL for Achieva Credit Union if they want to use your services?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking to apply online, it's www.achievacu.com.
Great. Fantastic. Trevor, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. It was very educational. Hopefully, we gave some tips to those that are entertaining purchasing a new or even a used vessel, and something to tow it with, and how to best go about the process, because I know it can be frustrating. It has been for me in the past decades when I went to go purchase something. So thank you for joining us today. Any other final thoughts or ideas or tips that you would like to share?
I don't think I have anything else necessarily that I would like to share. Just want to say thanks so much for having me. I've enjoyed being here. I'm hoping that this information will help the listeners, and anyone can feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email with additional questions. I know they pop up, and again, case by case, everything can be a little bit different. So I'd be happy to help anywhere I can. But
That's
thank
great.
you for having me.
No, I appreciate you taking the time to do it. And it's been very educational, and I had fun working on this project. So looking forward to doing some more with you in the future as we come up with some different topics and stuff to discuss along these same lines. So thanks for joining us today, and give everybody our best there. And we will talk to you soon.
All right, will do. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Well, we hope you enjoyed our show today and found it both educational and entertaining at the same time. If you or your company would like to join the team on Flats Nation for a podcast or other coverage, feel free to drop us a quick note at info@flatsnation.com. And now, here's the rest of the song to run the skiff back home with. Tight lines and God bless.